When it comes to working in video professionally, you need to make sure that the audio is really good. And there are two things that we're going to cover here. One is the acquisition of audio and making sure that at the point of recording, the audio is really clean. And then also when you're doing your post-production, your editing, and you need to make sure that your audio mix is really good. Whenever you go out to film a story, one of the first things you should do when you arrive at the location is listen to what's going on. Is there extraneous sound? Is there the sound of air conditioning buzzing, or maybe the fridge is buzzing? You need to make sure that you can turn that off. Also things like music, if there's music playing in the background, all of those things are going to affect the footage that you acquire. So for example, in the case of music, as you probably know, you can breach copyright by filming with music playing in the background. So if there's a radio or some kind of music playing, make sure you turn it off. So the point of acquisition is when you can make sure that the audio that you're actually acquiring is really good. So as you know from the previous lessons that you've seen, make sure that you have your headphones in and that you're listening to the audio as you're recording, making sure that it's not over-modding, that it's not going to be peaking too high, and that it's going to sound really good when you come to do your edit. In this course, we're going to look at things like the audio setup on your cameras, different types of cameras and the different microphones they have, and all of the kind of technical stuff regarding acquisition. We're also going to look at audio mixing, which, as you know, once you've acquired your audio, as long as it's good and it's clean, there's a certain amount that you can fix in the edit, and we'll talk about those in the software-specific courses, but there's also a great deal that you can do to improve the audio through audio mixing. And this is basically falls into two categories. So you have what's called an absolute mix, and we're going to go through how you do an absolute mix. That means mixing everything in your story, in your video, to what's called industry standard, which is -6 to -12 dB. It's also going to cover what's called a relative mix. And in a relative mix, you're basically adjusting each track, and you're bringing the levels down, not up, because you've already done your absolute mix, but you're making sure that you can hear the track that you need to hear when you need to hear it. So it's how one track sounds relative to the others. So for example, when your voiceover is playing, then you need to hear that voiceover. We need to hear what you're saying. So you want to make sure that any background sound is dropped down to the point where you can still hear it, but you can hear the voiceover very clearly. So in this course, we're going to cover all those aspects of audio. Remember that your viewers are very forgiving of bad video. So very often in news, you'll see something that's a breaking story. It hasn't been very well shot, cameras moving around. People will be forgiving of that, but they are not very forgiving of bad audio. And remember, 70% of what you see is what you hear.